Hey everyone, welcome to Moving Matt. We do all things cameras with a dash of vlogs and a little bit of travel. And today I want to be going over the rumors coming out of Canon rumors about where Canon plans to be going over the next year with their camera releases. And also about the big delay from the Canon EOS R1. So if you're familiar with this channel, you know that on Saturdays, usually I give a news rundown with a little bit of a satirical side. Think Frono's photo with 100% less fro and 200% more talent. I'm joking, of course. I actually just did a mentorship call with him and he's a really cool dude. And if you get the opportunity, I absolutely recommend one. But the reason I say all that is because there really wasn't a lot of news this week. So I figured I'd focus in on this one story that I think is a pretty big deal. So Canon rumors have said that after the EOS R3, not to be expecting any more high-end cameras, and they are going to be focusing in on some of their lower budget cameras. Think the EOS RP Mark II or whatever they're going to call it. And there's also going to be an APS-C camera, but they do not believe it is going to be the R7, which would be their high-end crop sensor camera. Instead, we will probably be getting an M50, whatever the RF version of that camera will be, which will be the smallest camera that they've ever made in the RF line. This actually makes a lot of sense, and it goes along with the Canon news patents of the lenses that are going to be released. They really didn't seem like high-end APS-C lenses. They seem more like kit lenses to me. Now, they didn't completely rule out the R7, but they said that that looks like where the rumors are taking them. At the same time, I think that the R7 is still going to come, if not later this year, maybe early next year. But I think that that is a big disappointment for a lot of people because I know a lot of people were looking forward to that camera. So before I go further on into the article and talk about what they said about the R1, let me give my thoughts on why they're going towards their budget-friendly options. I think there are really two main reasons. The first being that that is really the market that they need to satisfy right now. I know it's not necessarily the sexiest camera for the people who are always wanting to be on the cutting edge and hear about the best of the best, but the Canon M50 has been one of their most popular cameras, and they really need to go after that budget-friendly option because right now the only two RF cameras that are under $2,000 are almost 3 years old. So it makes sense for them to update that and for them to actually bring maybe an even more cheap camera, or at least a smaller camera that YouTubers and vloggers and amateurs will want to use. And if they fall in love with it, then they're more likely to move up to Canon's more expensive cameras. And the second reason they're going to be focusing in on the budget-friendly cameras is from the manufacturing issues that have been hitting pretty much every technology company. There's just not enough chips out there to broaden your camera base right away. You really need to be able to focus in on a few different cameras, and it's going to be really hard to get all the equipment that you need to supply maybe all the cameras that you want to create. But let me go further into this article where they said that the Canon EOS R1 they don't expect to see until late next year at the earliest, which I found that extremely surprising that they would not be bringing that camera out until late 2022. I think a lot of people, including myself, has thought that the R1 would still be coming at least in a prototype version for the Winter Olympics next year, which would be the beginning of next year, and that the R3 would be for the Summer Olympics that are coming this year. So I'm really surprised to hear that they're going to be pushing it over a year further along. And it really does make me think that the R3 may have been the R1 until they got wind of what Sony was doing with the A1 and what Nikon was doing with the Z9. I know that sounds crazy and I've said that before, but it really makes sense if you think that the R1 is not going to be coming for another at least year and a half. But this news really does confuse me a lot because why would you bring out your high-end sports camera at the end of 2022 or maybe early 2023, considering that the next Olympics is not going to be until 2024. Usually they like to bring out the new flagship whenever there's Olympics coming out. So why bring it out over a year before, or maybe close to 2 years before the 2024 Summer Olympics? So if this all remains true, it looks like they'll actually be competing with the Sony A1, maybe Mark II by that point. So we will have to see what they have to offer. Maybe they are pushing it further along and there is going to be something like a global shutter, because I think a global shutter maybe in 2 or 3 years actually makes sense. And in the meantime, they will go with the Canon EOS R3. And in the past, Canon rumors have said that there's going to be an R5C that comes out early next year, and they will be going maybe with the duo of those two. You'll have an 8K camera with the R5C, and you will have whatever the megapixels is going to be of this R3, and it's going to be more photocentric. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a high-end megapixel camera, so it looks like they're going for a 2-camera option right now until maybe the R1 comes along and it's kind of like the one camera to rule them all. But those are just my thoughts on it. I thought this news seemed very interesting, but give me your thoughts on it. Drop in the comment section below, and if you've liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And until next time, peace.